having difficulty, I think, with its RTC connection. So I'm hoping that my stream is getting through okay. So let me just quiz the class and see if that works. They're chanting maple syrup. Okay. Hey guys. Am I coming through on Twitch? Discord is having difficulty with its RTC connection. Okay, so let's see if we get through. And then perhaps, hopefully everybody can see the Twitch stream, so it'll all be good. I've got 0 viewers though, so that's not a good thing. Twitch is working? Yeah, okay. Twitch never works for me. Are you streaming on YouTube? Yeah. Yeah, there's a delayed response on Twitch. I believe the stream hits YouTube like hours later. All right, so let me try. Okay, let me try and fix Discord again. Hang tight, guys. Okay, so what I'll probably do is I'll come in here and bring up ye old task manager, make sure all the services for Discord are absolutely shut down, so it's a clean restart. Ooh, look at that. What's going on there? I got multiple instances of Discord operating. If I shut down one instance, will it daisy chain the other ones? Oh, it's not getting rid of these guys for me. That's unfortunate. So I think I'll just have to go to the service and see if I can recognize that service and hopefully kill it. No. Description. Yeah, I don't know which service it's using. Oh, has it cleaned it out? Let's see. No, it's still there. This one's eating up 2.9% CPU. That's killed it. That's got rid of it. So I found the one that was running the most CPU usage, and that seemed to take all the other instances with it. So let's see if we can fire up Discord again. Oh my lord, it is too early for this. Okay, so whilst Discord is firing up, I've brought up 2 pieces of concept art from an excellent concept artist. And I decided to compare like for like from the artist's own oeuvre because it's unfair to compare artist against artist. So my big question is, which one do you prefer? Right? Oh, okay. I think we got audio. Yeah, it looks like we got flux capacitor is fluxing. I think we're back. That's cool. So I'm going to start a video stream on here as well. Ooh. So hopefully I can do the dual streaming thing. My bandwidth has significantly improved after I did a few tweaks, right? So let me see if I can share this screen over for those who don't have or have difficulty running Twitch. So it's running both on Discord and on Twitch, right? So you should be able to kind of participate there, right? Wait, as in we do it or it's working? Sorry, Tom, I don't understand the question. Are you guys talking but not including me in your conversations? Man, that just hurts. That hurts. Okay, so back to this. Which one? Which one do you prefer? Remember, this is the secret of concept art. Of every concept artist, right? The right? Okay, why? Oh, thanks, Alia. They were only talking because they were worried about me. Okay, that's cool. I thought you guys were just muting me and going, man, that Al guy's just shit. He's just shit. He's the worst lecturer. Go on, let's humor him. Let's attend his class and humor him. Make him feel good about himself. Okay, so why the right one? Why do you like the right? Silhouette and pose is nice to look at. Why is it nice to look at? Remember, we're trying to take the words, it's nice, it's cool, I prefer that, and break it down into the reasoning of being a professional artist. So more dynamic, words like that, right? So the dynamics are created by certain curves and lines through the character. But why does it feel more dynamic? We need to sort of dig a little deeper. Prefer the one on the right. I like the pose. Yeah. What about the pose? Now, you guys should have gathered that I'm leaning you or steering you towards the right. I'm wary of the few people who say, actually, I prefer the left. But you're supposed to like the one on the right. And there are a few different reasons why. Has a very basic pose. Yes, very basic pose. Why does this one on the left feel basic? The limbs seem to be in the right places. Yeah, I think they were in the right places on the left as well. Remember, it's the same artist. Very accomplished in terms of proportion. Blind and deaf on the computer. One moment. Okay. The left looks kind of static. Yeah. Okay. So perfect. That's sort of the answer I was looking for. And hence the secret of every concept artist on the planet. Right? The first question you ask yourself when you are creating a character is, what is the character doing? What is the character doing? I tell you to ask the same question in life drawing. What is the character doing? If you do not know what the character is doing, your audience will not know, and there'll be a lack of personality. So, for example, if I were to say, real world example, right? So if I were to say, go into a, let's put it this way. Would you rather? No, I want to put this delicately, right? So in a real world situation, what's a more interesting crowd to be around? People standing at a bus stop or people in a pub? And you're supposed to say people in a pub, obviously. Okay? If you find people standing at a bus stop more interesting than people in a pub, I would question your sanity. Oh, I shouldn't say that. You feel free to like watching people standing at a bus stop, you weirdos. I suppose it depends on what they're doing. Yes, absolutely. Joe, you were bang on the money. Bus stops are godly. Because what the people are doing is what interests us and fascinates us. No stream for coming. Okay, Tom, can you hear me? Tom, if it's any consolation, this is streaming over to YouTube as well. Discord is all over the place today. Yeah, I noticed that. It's posing to be quite difficult. Okay, so to understand what a character's doing, you have to get into character, which I've talked to you guys at length about, right? So this character is obviously doing something, is in an emotional state, and is engaged with something. i.e. gives us a hint at a larger story for that character. And that is your job as a concept artist. You have to show a concept piece where people look at it and they fill in the blanks for the entire story of that character, right? That's the challenge of being a concept artist, right? So right away, when we look at her, can we ask the question, is she a conformist or a nonconformist? Does she toe the line or is she a rebel? Now, ask yourself the same question about this dude. Right? Very difficult to answer that question with this guy. Easy to answer the question with this one, right? So, what is the story behind this character, right? Well, you don't know for certain, but you get some hints. You get kind of an idea of what she may have been through, right? Or what she's about, right? And you're sort of engaged with, like, for example, I look at this character design and I see the sword and I go, I like her personality. I would love to see her in combat. Love to see her in combat. Actually, if you come up with a character design that you can't wait to see moving or animated, you've nailed it. You've come up with a concept design that's just 100% on the money. Right? This guy, meh. I couldn't be bothered whether or not I see that person moving or not, you know? So that is the big, big secret ingredient. Not proportion, not rendering, not color, not lighting, none of that, right? It's performance and story, right? It's what is that character doing and how does that reflect the larger story, right? So, as per usual, I'm not going to critique somebody else's artwork without throwing mine up there as well, right? But also as an attempt to walk you through certain things. Now, I can't find that one piece, but I've shown you that piece already with the cops. So here's another rough sketch. Now, to give you an idea on the turnaround time, the producer wanted to see something that afternoon. So I got in at about 10 and his meeting was at like 1. So this was a couple hours, right? So a couple hours to show a concept sketch that would convince the executive producer and the producer of the personality of this certain character. So I had a one-page brief that said, we've got these gang members. This is how loose it was. We have a bunch of gang members, and we got the main gang member. His name was, I forget what his name was, but he's all about bling. That's all I got. Just one-page brief. The main gang member is all about bling. That's it, right? So this is what I came up with. And the very first thing that I did was I thought to myself, what is the story? What is going on, right? Now, this is a bit of a little bit of a lame duck because they're posing for a photograph. Posing for a photograph is like the worst kind of cheat on the planet. But I knew that posing for a photograph is like an informational character design. So that production can have a look at your designs and go, okay, well, I get where the costume's going. Now, most people kind of do the dude standing there, doing nothing, just standing there. That's like people at a bus stop, right? You don't want to design people at a bus stop, right? It's not going to fire people up, right? So I sat there, okay, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to have characters standing for a photo, but each one of them, it will be distinctly different, right? So that's how I kind of tackled this, right? And again, the addition of the sort of the stripper girl was just to frame the main character, right? That's her only purpose, is to frame this guy, right? And to point to decadence and all that kind of stuff, right? And then, of course, his crew in the background, right? So that's how powerful story is, and performance and personality. Even how he's holding the cane. I would stand up, like I could have put the cane over the shoulder. In fact, I did. I put the cane over the shoulder and said, nah, I'm going to do it for the guy in the back with a baseball bat. Because there's one guy in a crew who wants to be noticed by the boss, and he's going to be really cocky, right? So he's going to put that over his shoulder, right? So I tried a different pose with a cane. I put it off to one side, one hand. I'm like, nah, that doesn't tell me, that doesn't show power, right? So I put the two like this, and I thought, okay, that's a good. So I would stand up and I'd act it out. Really, really important that I got into character. Should have higher heels. Yep. To this day, I struggle about the length of her legs. Struggle. Some of my concept art buddies, and these are seasoned artists, some say the legs are too long. Others say, nah, it looks great, man. So it's kind of, and I still look at it today going, boy, they feel really long, right? But that's neither here nor there because the piece worked, right? And yeah, could have higher heels. The piece worked though, right? the producers looked at it and went, that is awesome. Those are the characters we want. The power of legs, right? Yes and no. It's, if you take a closer look, it's just very, very simple caricature, right? Very, very simple. All these guys are actually quite simple, right? So that's the idea anyway, right? Is to just get in there and do something. I mean, this was a longer piece, right? And granted, I had loads of reference material from, I had anime pictures all over the place. But then when we went into the development sketches, these went a little bit sort of further, right? Where I really had to this was a little bit of a Wolverine. I had Wolverine all over the place, and then I did this design. Anyway, the point is, each one of my designs are doing something. They're in character, right? So that's it. That's the big kind of tip for the stuff that you're doing. And it's consistently what I will be asking you. What is the model doing? And if I get the answer, just standing there, then I will dig and dig and dig until you get a clearer idea of the personality of the character, right? That's got to sort of shine through in everything that you do. So if we go back to the ArtStation homepage, right? You notice the ones that come flying out at you, that get the most screen space, are the characters that are doing something, right? So that is absolutely the single most important piece of advice I can give you. Okay, so let me fire up Photoshop super quick. Now, I was going to ask you guys about the F-Track reviews, right? And I understand that art is a very personal kind of thing. But do you guys mind if I do F-Track reviews during visual studies? Because I think all of you could get something from it. But if you don't want that, that's cool. Part of the reason I want to pose that question to you guys is because it will happen during production anyway, right? You notice that when there's art reviews with, do you know how they do art reviews with concept artists and the art team? Everybody gets together and you show your stuff to everybody, right? If you don't want your stuff sort of fed back on in this way, just send me a private message and I just won't, I won't review your guys' stuff, right? But it's tough. So here's the caveat, right? Writers, musicians, artists, creatives, the whole journey is incredibly introverted and has to be introverted. Why? Because you're putting your soul onto the page, right? And the deeper you dig into your heart and soul, the more passionate the thing that you create becomes, and the more that resonates with the audience. But it requires bearing your entire soul to be stomped on. In that regard, good art leads, and I'm hopefully including myself in this category, will be wary that they are treading on your heart when they review your work, right? So I know that when I'm looking at your stuff, I am looking at your beating heart, and I'm not going to stomp on it, right? So, oh yeah, there was problems with F-Track. So let's sort that out now, right? I do recall a few of you ran into that. So let me bring that up real quick. By the way, what I said about not stomping on your heart, unfortunately, not all art directors or art leads feel the way I do. There are some that believe that concept artists should be molded in the crucible of the hard school of critique and feedback and school of hard knocks kind of philosophy. So you may end up at one of those studios where a lot of feedback is unnecessarily brutal, right? So you guys know Ed, and Eddie. Well, that particular project, the art reviews were brutal. They were just brutal, right? Unfortunately, it's the one thing that takes away from my experience there, right? I didn't mind. People generally left me alone because, when I was at that studio, I was kind of a big guy. I was going to the gym quite a lot. So people sort of left me alone. But some of the smaller guys, whoa, they got picked on. They got picked on a lot. It was definitely bullying. It was definitely what we would classify as bullying. And bullying happens a lot. Mainframe Studios in Vancouver, I've heard stories that they pride themselves on being the school of hard knocks, which, again, is just a trumped up, excuse for bullying, to be honest. And I don't think it's necessary. I've used two different approaches. I was never a hard knocks kind of guy, but I was very kind of stern and strict, right? And sort of demanding of my artists. And then I took another tact for another project where I tried to be more inspiring and sort of, I just wanted to inspire my artists to be able to produce better and better work because they wanted to, not because I told them to, right? So, and I think arguably it produced better work. I say that though, but I was tougher on Need for Speed, and I was more sort of inspiring and passionate on Star Wars: The Force Unleashed, and Need for Speed was more successful. So, I don't know. Take from that what you will. Okay, so usernames and passwords. Let's get that sorted out. Do you know why the sort of School of Hard Knocks tends to work really well, though? Think back on your own childhood, right? Well, at least for me, from my perspective. The teachers that made the most impact on me, that made me learn and grow a lot, were the ones that were really tough on me, right? And because in the back of my mind, I knew they were tough on me because they cared. They really kind of wanted to see me progress, right? So, there you go. No, truthful or lying is not the point of parents with their artwork, right? It's about, the number one focus for parents is about developing, right? Developing, right? So basically, here's how it would work from my perspective, right? So as a kid shows interest in art, obviously the first pieces are not going to be accomplished, right? Loads of encouragement, right? Loads of encouragement. As they get better and better and better, I'm a little bit more critical. And when they're really, really good, that's where I start critiquing them on an equivalent level that I would with a production artist, right? That's how I believe it should work, right? So yeah, when your art skills down here, loads of encouragement. Pick out the good stuff, pick out areas that might need work, but loads of encouragement. When you're starting to see eye to eye, there's a bit of back and forth where you allow the artist to also learn self-critique, which is really hugely important. So when I'm up here and I get to this point where my sons are getting pretty good at art, I'll say, I don't know, what do you think? Turn it back over to them, right? Get them to self-critique. And then when they're really, really good, I'll be like, okay, you need to fix this, you need to change that, etc., right? A little insight on how I'm teaching you guys. Okay, it was Joe, just my username, because, so just, it's Evans, right? I think so. Yep, okay. So, yeah, your username is that, your email. I saw the Discord conversation last night. Why is this not working for you? That's really strange. Okay. Okay. So, I wonder if it'll just reset the database if I just redo your password, right? So if I come in here, I've copied your username and I'm pasting it into your password and I'm updating it. See if you can log in now. Yeah. So I've reset it. So your username is your email, your password's your email. Right? Constructive criticism is difficult, right? you also have to understand partially too. When a kid who's 13 years old posts something on YouTube, they obviously are proud of it. No one's going to put their stuff up that they're not proud of. Okay, Joe, that's cool. You're in, right? So that's a good thing. There's also venues for that kind of critique, right? So oftentimes when I see a young artist, I don't do it as much anymore. It's been like a decade now. But when I used to see young artists on YouTube and stuff like that, I'd say, that's really good, man. You should start posting on CG Talk, right? So if you want professional critique, not only from guys like me, but like guys who are still working in studio, if you really, really want that, and if you are ready for it, because some of these guys are hard talkers, post on CG Talk. That's where you get the God's honest truth as to how good you are, right? And you will get the feedback that you would normally get inside of a studio. I haven't been on CG Talk in ages, but CG Talk was like the de facto, once you graduated from having your friends and family critique your stuff to like some of your colleagues critique your stuff, then you went to CG Talk, and that's where you got brutalized. I've posted my stuff on CG Talk, but I've made some good friends on CG Talk, friends that I've never met, right? So there are quite a few really, really good artists here. They've really changed their format. Holy cow. Oh, they've expanded too. They've got loads of categories. CG Talk has been around for a long time, huge reputation, good place to post stuff, right? At the same time, again, the level is very high. Now, there's a few other places. The other one that was really popular back in my day, I don't know if they're still around, they probably are, is conceptart.org, right? That deals strictly with concept art. It will frighten you, and you'll probably shut down your web browser after you get there. Because the conceptart.org guys, that's the place where the art directors go and post their personal stuff. It's just, the level is very, very high, right? Oh, can't reach it. I wonder if it's still around. I will investigate that later. CG Talk is still around though, so that's a good one. Okay, so let's pop into the character folder and let's take a look at versions. Okay, let's take a look here. I'm gonna back a few steps up here. I think this was one I looked at. Oh, it's not loading up. Yeah, don't feel intimidated about amazing art, right? It will also be around you your entire life and your entire career, right? So I'm moving this over to my Cintiq, and I'm going to switch my stream over to the Cintiq so we can start talking a little bit about stuff. All right, so let me pop this. That's my F-Track monitor. We'll go live there. And I'm going to my Twitch stream, and I'm going to ban this "wanna become famous" dude. That's block you. See you later, a juicer. All right, so now I'm gonna hop over to my tutorial display, double click that, and we'll flip over to, I think, monitor 3. Yeah, there we go. Okay, that's cool. All right, so I'm gonna pop back on over here. Oh, not that one. Am I in the right area? Level 4. Oh, I'm in the creative practice. Ooh, that's why. I'm like, where the heck is it? Okay. Level 4 animation. And visual studies. Oh no, yeah, I was in the right area. Ah, I see. Okay. Yeah, the Dr. Boom concept. let's take a look at the original sketch, actually. Yeah, this... no, let's go into this guy. Okay, so who did this one again? Oh, animating 3D with a mouse. Actually, I prefer it, to be honest. But I'll talk about mouse technique versus pen technique. Oh, is this someone from games? Oh, okay. Tyrone. Oh, I don't want to critique Tyrone stuff if he's not here. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we'll leave that for now. Now, the one thing I am going to mention that there is danger in shading, rendering, color, and lighting, right? Because it sort of convinces you that you're good, right? And Tyrone is good. It's a nice design, right? But do you guys know what a guitar wah pedal is? Or have I used that metaphor with you guys? I'm not sure if I have. The guitar wah pedal. If you guys don't know what it is, it's an amazing guitar pedal, right? And most beginner guitarists buy it. So when you're playing the guitar, it's like strum, 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 strum. And then you plug into a wah pedal, you turn the wah pedal on, and you strum it, and it's like, it's heavy metal, crunchy, just distorted. Sounds awesome. You sound like, you're playing for Metallica, right? And it's amazing. And then you turn the wah pedal off, and dunk, 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 and it just shows you can't play guitar, right? Because the notes are clear. Whether you're in tune or not, it's clear, right? So rendering, shadows, colors, lights, that's the guitar wah pedal, right? You think you're doing really, really, really well, right? But if the bass drawing underneath before all the effects are added is not solid, it's not going to work, right? It's not going to be a good concept, right? So that's kind of something I want to encourage you guys about. I did want to dive into this one. This one's cool. Okay, so let's go back to the concept, right? Okay. Oh, no, actually, I'll do it this way. I'm going to go into here first, right? Okay, so whose is this one? Julia. Yes, okay, Julia. Okay, cool. Right, so, where's my whacking pen? All right, so let's pop into here real quick. Now, one of the things that I kind of encourage you guys to do is to kind of experiment as well when you get in. Oh, where's that? Okay, there it is. Tell me. Let's reset that zoom. Actually, I'll just go in here like this. So this is quite cool, and again, it's like, what is this character? What is this character doing? Right? That's the sort of the big thing for me. Again, right? Let's come on, man. Give me my annotation JPEG. Oh, I was all ready to go in here and do a draw over, and it's not working. What? Right? Okay, well, damn. That kind of kills that. I'll talk it through, I think. Maybe that'll be the best. Let me just check something, see if the mouse works. Oh, the mouse works. So, is it a Wacom issue? Make sure my Wacom drivers are loaded. Yeah, Wacom drivers are loaded. Reset zoom. The F-Track guys know that their annotation tools suck. They will be changing them. I just saw the webinar over it last night, but their draw tools are just kind of awful. I know what I'm going to do. All right. Bear with me a sec, guys, because I want to get in there. So I'm going to come into client reviews, and I'm going to add a client review. The client review tools are a little bit better, right? And I'm going to pop this guy in here. Should be able to. Okay, well, let's Visual Studies Review. Wonder if I'm going to have to browse to this. Nope. Let's open this session. Nope. So I need to add content here. Now, I thought for sure maybe I need to grab it from down here. Let's try that. So let's pop this open. Oh, that's right. That's what I have to do. So I got to come in here, I believe, and I think down here we add this guy to the client reviews, I think. Ah, no, I can't find it. So that's that. All right. I'm going to try this one more time. If not, I'll just sort of walk it through, I think. It's probably the best way to do it. You know what? I got another idea. Let me try this. So I'm going to pop in here. I'm going to grab... oh, sorry. It was in here, I think. Let's go down there. Yep. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a quick print screen for now. This will work. Pop into here. Grab that. Now the review tools were working. That is a little bit frustrating. Okay. Let's get Snagit working here. Oh, Snagit Editor is not going to work as well because it doesn't have the pan tool. Bear with me. Almost with you guys. Where did I put my screen review? My screen reviewer tool. I believe Windows has one. So, yep, there's Windows has a snip and sketch. I'm gonna pop this open. There we go. Okay, I think this will do it for us for today, anyway. Yeah. Okay, so the big thing that stuck out to me straight away on this one is the weight distribution, right? Right? So we've got a lot of this stuff on the foreleg, but it's not feeling right to me, right? And also, I get that we've got the leg down the back, but it's sort of a bad silhouette. So I think I may have opted for something a little bit further out. So you got to ask yourself, first of all, what is the character doing? But also, kind of what do you want that character to portray? So if I'm doing, say, a concept piece for, let's say, his Dark Materials, right? This might be all right, actually. I want this to convey strength, right? So first of all, notice what I did with the back leg. I experimented with a few things, but the back leg I'm putting out there so that there's a little bit more negative space, right? Now, this belly hang doesn't feel quite right to me from the original, right? Because it looks like a distended, stretched belly. So what I did was added more volume to the chest, right? And then just try to work out how those different pieces are fitting together, right? I would have actually brought this in just a little bit, but it depends. What is the character doing? Like the character underneath looks like he's just stretching out, right? Now that I can see how that can sometimes happen, because when you map out the anatomy and you start putting in the sort of the details, you forget to step back occasionally, look at your sketch and go, okay, what is this creature doing, right? So here I can tell that as you were working it out, you didn't know what the anatomy was doing back there, right? In that particular situation, you have to draw through your character, right? So this whole scapula and, the way it is, right? You need to draw that on the other side, right? Even if you do sort of just a really quick sort of flip, right? And you're just trying to figure out what that scapula is doing, right? Even if you have to draw it on the other side, right? You need to get it there so you can figure out what's happening on that side, right? The head, it's got an interesting head tilt, right? But again, what's he doing? Is he getting ready for an attack? Is he looking curiously? Animals will oftentimes tilt their head if they're trying to listen for something. I might play with that a little bit. I get it. I get the whole kind of head going back thing. But yeah, for me, I would play with it a little bit. Now, straight away, I've lowered it, right? Because by lowering it, you do two things. I'm looking at trying to make a silkier curve through there. Not saying it's better, but it also emphasizes the shoulder blades. And the shoulder blades popping out really speak to power, right? But then I move that guy there and I think, well, you know what? There's something very regal about the original head position, right? But it's just the chin is tucked. And the chin tucked is sort of a bit of a weak pose, right? So actually, even though I brought that head back here, I think I might actually move it back down again and just sort of experiment, right? And the benefit of moving it down is then the horns come prominently into play, right? And then I think, well, what would that look like, right? So let's get that head over here. What would that look like, right? So I guess one of the things that I sort of recommend is just experimentation. But again, this might be a different intent. So I lower the head and I think, wow, that looks really cool. I like that. But this is definitely an aggressive pose. Definitely somebody who's kind of gearing up for an attack. So I've actually altered the original intent of your piece, right? Where it's a creature kind of intent on attack. No, that one would be a little bit higher up. Put that away. But I think I would definitely play with this drawing a little bit more, right? Now, here's an interesting kind of tidbit, right? There is not a formula, but there's a reason why. Well, I'll just draw it and I'll explain it to you. Okay, so if I were to draw the leg like this, right, with the two sort of opposite side legs are close together, and the two closer side legs are further apart, right? That's either sort of a mid canter or like there's an order. Here's what I'm trying to say. There's an order the way quadrupeds place their paws on the ground depending on what they do. So when they're galloping, they have a different paw order than when they're cantering to when they're just casually walking, right? And there's that's where I say you need to research this to try to figure out what the character was doing, right? So I brought this foot in close in cantering pose, and it does not work. Even though you might see that in a reference photo, it does not work. And it doesn't work because subconsciously the audience knows that that's a canter pose, and this character's obviously not cantering, right? So that's something we'd have to kind of get rid of and then take a look at. So would it be like 2 on one side, 2 on the other, which occasionally happens? Just slight offset timing as a quadruped is walking? That's something that you kind of need to consider. Also, something else you need to consider as well is the bird's eye view torque of the character, right? So this would be the forepaw there, and this would be the forepaw there. So I'm drawing a bird's eye view, right? And actually this would be further out, and this would be over this way a little bit more, right? So there'd be kind of an S curve, right? So I'm drawing the top-down view of what happens to a quadruped when they're sort of sauntering forward. It's really important because that torque is the number one thing that I see missing in a lot of quadruped designs, right? So yeah, a little bit messy and all over the place, but it gives you a sneak peek into my mind whenever I take a look at junior artist work and I'm reviewing it and I'm doing my feedback notes. So this would be my first pass, right? So yeah, let's take a look at the reference material, right? And then we'll talk a little bit about the interpretation of that reference material, right? So let me take another sort of snip. We'll come in here, and then let's see if we can zoom in on it a little bit, right? Okay, so now that I've walked it through, actually, and remember, I haven't seen this reference material, right? But take a look. So your initial sort of incarnation has a leg coming down here. Now, that's because you sense the solidity of the drawing. So I can understand why you drew the foreleg there. But look at where the weight is distributed. That's the meat of the, I guess that would be the deltoid of the creature, right? The elbow is sitting back here, right? So this holds the weight a little bit more. Do you see that? I'm hoping you can see that, right? And this, even though in the photograph it's doing this, I would have cheated it, right? Just because visually it's a little bit more interesting, which means if you cheat it, you got to lower this bit a little bit, right? And yes, there's a stretch there because I suspect it's because that creature just negotiated an incline, right? Can you see that? Definitely looks like an incline there, just by the way the snow is. So he's obviously crested sort of not a hilltop. He's just on the crest of the hilltop, right? So this was probably the final leap up into position, right? I know the head, you've got it. You've nailed it. But I think I would have cheated that away. It just doesn't feel right to me, right? But again, look how thick the volume is up the front for the chest. And we've lost it a little bit here. See that? Right? And it does feel a little bit too far here. I would have choked that up a little bit, brought it in. Just a little bit, right? Okay. Front leg makes so much more sense now. Be stuck on it. I didn't know why. Yeah. Here's how you figure out why. Okay? And again, I'm not critiquing. I'm giving you the tools to be able to problem solve your own drawings. It's to ask your question, what is the model, what is the character doing, especially in the reference material, or what have they done, right? So if you can imagine, boom, 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 over the hill, boom, land, right? And you're going to cringe at this, but just what I've done there, act it out, right? Act it out. You get on all fours and you act it out, because then you can feel how the weight is distributed, right? So if I put my arm up here and I hold my weight, that feels weird. But if I put my, I'm hoping you guys can see, if I put my elbow in here and hold my weight, I feel like I can lean forward and I've got this strut that can hold me steady. But if I'm like this, I don't feel very strong, right? So if you act it out, you can find out where you're balanced. And you don't have to act out the whole creature, just bits of it, right? Just like I've done there. It's just like, okay, if I'm here like this, how am I leaning? Am I leaning like where does my weight go, right? And you can sort of figure it out, right? So being stuck on a drawing probably means you're just thinking about the drawing. That's the big clue, guys. When you're stuck, you need to think outside the drawing to figure out what's going on. So what helps you? Photo reference like this, excellent. Video clips, right? I guess me pretending to be Simba when I was little was my inner artist. Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is, right? Actors do it all the time. Benedict Cumberbatch, when he was doing the voice of Smaug, was crawling around acting like a dragon. I mean, come on, this career is an excuse for that. It's an excuse for that, right? We just, as we grow older, we're given all these inhibitions, right? And you don't need these inhibitions. This is why I love this career, right? You got to lose those inhibitions and just get into your imagination. You got to be that kid again. You got to be that kid pretending to be Simba. That's really super important, right? Benefit Cabbage Patch. That's the one. That's the guy. Okay, so I'm just going to do the one today. Thank you, Julia, for that. I hope that you got a lot out of it. I got to figure out how to get F-Track working a little bit better, right? But I'll bomb through a few of these here. I haven't taken a look at the new ones. Okay, yeah, very cool. So notice how this one works because of the weight distribution. You've really got that. I know you're looking at the reference material. I would have snuck the chest. See the chest line here? I would have snuck it just a little bit more forward. This one works, but there's a subtlety missing, right? So when the hind leg's coming up, you see the two forepaws here? The subtle difference between these two forepaws and those ones is, and those of you who have a dog or a cat will know this, well, a dog, is that when the hind leg's coming up, they sort of lean and put all their weight on this one leg, don't they? And then that's when they tilt their head towards what needs to be itched, right? So knowing what spot this otter wants to itch is also incredibly important, right? This artist looks like they just went, oh, the paw's there, so I'll just stick it there. Like, what is he itching his chin under here? What's he itching, right? I'm serious, dead serious, guys. You need to take it to this degree when you're designing. And, you know, after a while, it just becomes second nature and you become really quick at it in terms of considering these things. Here, the weight distribution doesn't feel quite right for me in terms of where the character is sitting. So the paws on the front don't necessarily take up the weight, but they are involved with balance, right? So understanding that's really important. And the way the shoulders are thrown forward is really kind of important as well. So, I mean, you see me doing it here. I'm acting it out, right? I'm acting it out because I want to try to feel what my shoulders are doing. And then if you act it out and you understand what the shoulders are trying to do, you wouldn't have drawn the shoulder there, right? So that's my point in terms of using tools to kind of help you figure out what it is that you're drawing, right? Okay. So that's it. That's an example of how I generally tend to dive in and critique stuff, right? Okay, so we are at 11 o'clock, and I've got you. So I'm going to take 5 minutes, get a refill on my coffee, and then we'll come back in and we'll start doing some life drawing. Okay? So 5-minute break, and I'll see you guys. Okay, I will be right back, guys. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, Joe's asking if just post normal stuff, drawings that you do in your spare time on the F-Track. Absolutely. Anything you'd like me to take a look at, right? So the reason I created that concept art thread is so that you can put stuff up there, right? I might create another task in here. I know everything's sort of mixed in at the moment. That's okay. We can start to separate them out if you like. So this one, I'm just going to create a quick one for design. We'll bunch it under characters, but this one will be creatures. Right? And this will be open as well, right? So here again, you can click on creatures. This will pop out and you can drop your creatures in there as well, right? I don't know why the annotation tools are not working. I'm going to try and figure out, or actually remember, how to add these guys to the client reviews, because the client reviews opened up a web player with a lot more tools. They've got brushes, different nib sizes and things like that. It just makes it a lot easier to feedback on. Okay, so I'm actually going to start off by coming into here and talking a little bit about one sec. Let me set this up. Now drop some gray on there. And then throw in another layer. I'm going to talk a little bit about how anatomy affects everything that you do as an artist, right? So let's talk a little bit about creature work, right? So Julia, you probably know because you did the skeletal study, which was super awesome. Very rare do I see an artist do that. But if we come in here, right? And if I'm sort of mapping out a creature, okay. Right? All that stuff about shoulder ball, torso ball, all that kind of stuff, head ball, right? It all kind of comes into play when you're doing your creature stuff, right? And I'll talk about this in just a sec here. Okay, so when I'm doing a really sort of rough sketch, right? I do the same approach as when I'm doing a human character, right? Remember, shoulders, waist, knees, equidistant apart, right? Right? So we got the torso here, get the pelvis there. One thing I generally tend to do is I will also, actually let me break this down with a different color. When I come in and do my torso, right? And then I do my pelvis, what I'll do is I'll do this opposite curve for the rib cage, because I find that that's the one area that a lot of artists generally tend to forget, right? So how many of you guys have done a creature drawing like a horse or a dog and you've just gone like this, right? Whoop, whoop, right? Which is okay, it's fine when you're trying to figure it out as long as you get the proportions correct. But it's when you start carving in anatomy, like the rib cage and the shoulder blades, that your creature designs start to come to life a lot more, right? Now, a little bit of a hint about hind legs, because I find that, Julia's drawing's excellent because she got it, nailed it, looked at the reference as well. But what I like to do is I like to show you how a hind leg works, because I don't know how many times I've seen creature work. I'll show you, right? So I'll see, designs of like, a mammoth kind of beastly creature, something like this. I don't know. Huge arms, right? I will destroy you. Kind of, whatever, right? And then they're like, oh yeah, he's a demon from the netherworld, so I'm going to give him like reverse legs. And I'll see like that, and it's like, no, man. No, you got that wrong, right? And it's because you just think it's like a reverse leg, like you've taken your leg and you flipped it inside out. But that's not what's happening with the rear leg, right? With the hind leg, right? The hind leg actually follows the human leg pretty much perfectly, right? So I'll show you by drawing a human leg, right? Getting ready to jump, right? So here we got the knee. We got the insertion point into the pelvis. We got the heel, right? Knee. And then we got the ball of the foot, right? That's exactly what a creature's doing. Exactly what a creature's doing, right? So here we got the knee. Here's the insertion point. There's the knee. And it goes all the way down the calf to the ankle. And he's on the ball of his feet, on the toes, right? So this is actually a foot. Yeah, half the leg is like a long foot. Exactly, Joe. Totally, right? Because four-legged creatures are always just ready to pounce, right? So when you're ready to jump or pounce, you're up on your toes, right? It just adds a little bit of that spring and allows a quadruped to lurch forward lightning fast, right? So that's one thing to keep in mind in terms of anatomy, how it can help your creature work. Do you guys want to know a tip about bird wings? They also follow human anatomy, right? Do you guys know about this? Yeah, they're hands, right? So oftentimes I'll see wings drawn incorrectly. Well, I say incorrectly because they're not 100% hands, not all the time. There are a couple of different anomalies, right? But oftentimes, you know, and I'm guilty of this too, right? So when I was a kid, you know, you draw wings like this, whatever, right? And then as you get older, you start to figure out, well, the wing is attached to something, but I'm not sure what it is, right? And we'll do something like this, right? So here's what's actually going on with a bird wing, right? Well, actually, that would be there. I'm going to start off with a bat wing because it's a lot easier to do, right? So this is what's going on. You've got a shoulder, an elbow, a wrist, and sort of the bones that drive the especially a bat wing are the fingers, right? Yes, exactly. There's like a wrist where it all folds in. Exactly, right? So if we take a look at, I'm going to show a bat wing because it's just really crystal clear in a bat wing, right? So if I come into images here, yeah, see, so you can see it there, right? Shoulder, elbow, hand, fingers, right? Yeah. Long fingers. Yeah. Those of you who drawn dragons and also have researched them really, really well before drawing them understand this, right? But going back to the key point, oh Christ, that wasn't even in my streaming window. Let me bring this back down again. My bad, right? So I was just pointing at this one here, right? So there's the shoulder, elbow, hand, fingers. So I like using bats because you can see it crystal clear, right? There's no mistaking that that's human anatomy, right? So again, and you can see it in here as well, right? So again, it harkens back to what I was saying before about nature's the best engineer on the planet. Nature got it right in terms of the structure for maintaining balance in this environment, our gravity, our air density, right? So you're going to see that everywhere in all creatures, right? That human anatomy. That's why anatomical studies and visual studies are so incredibly important, right? Okay. So let's see what the best way to do this would be. move this over. So I'm going to pop over now into YouTube again. Ah, damn, I closed my ArtStation. I wanted to take a look at that one piece. Damn, I didn't want to close down ArtStation. Oh, their front page is updated. Ah. Oh, never mind. I'll find it later. Okay. So we're going to go over to Life Drawing. Okay. Okay, so let's take a look at these poses and I'll kind of break down my approach. This time, not necessarily doing a draw over. And I'm going to blank that out, pop a new layer on top here. I think that F gets rid of the UI. No, it goes full screen there like that. Do I have a window adjuster? No, I don't. Or do I? No. Okay. Well, let's keep it at that. Okay, so let's take a look at how we would approach poses, right? So the pose on the left is actually a little bit more difficult to do, right? Because the second question, after you ask yourself, what is the model doing, is where is the weight? And that's sort of a difficult sort of thing to figure out. Now, it looks like all of the weight is being taken up by the back leg. Hence why the foot is angled the way it is to maintain balance, right? So all of that weight is being distributed there. Now, if we were to drop what's called a plumb line straight down from where the ear is and go all the way down, we miss the foot. So she's actually leaning quite precariously forward a little bit, right? So we won't talk about that one. We'll hit this one because, first of all, what is the model doing, right? So she's got a contrapedal twist. Now, for me, straight away, I would look at this and go, I can use that pose for a character running and drawing their sword at the same time, right? So I'll start to kind of impose my own thoughts as to what that character is doing or what they're up to. But there's a little bit of a contrapedal twist here. And then my next question, where's the weight? Well, the weight, if we take, say, from her ear and drop a plumb line, the plumb line, a plumb line is like a weight attached to a long piece of string. And navigators use it to try to figure out kind of equilibrium and balance and things like that. Artists use it to find the perfect vertical, right? Architects use it to look for that perfect vertical line. So if we drop a plumb line from the ear all the way down, what's called the sternocleidomastoid, and we can see the sternocleidomastoid right here, this muscle, right? And how important it is. And we drop it all the way down, we sit slightly back behind the leg. So in this particular case, I would probably cheat that pose a little bit, right? Now the first thing I want to do is I want to kind of capture the upper sort of torso. Now I've drawn this here because the shoulder twist is a key element for me, right? But then the pelvis does a twist as well, right? So we've got the center line this way, and sometimes if you can't figure out the twist, in this case it's difficult because there's arms in the way, you draw what you know, right? So I know that the pelvis is facing this way, but the chest is facing towards me, right? So you get that in, right? Now, I'm not concerned about the arms because that's not the big descriptor of the pose, right? The big descriptor of the pose is that S curve, right? That goes through the pose like this, right? So coming this way, and then I want to go back around the other way. So I draw this line to remind myself that I want to kind of follow that line. Now I'm breaking this down slowly. In real time, all this would be traveling like split second in my head, right? So I know that the entire weight is being held on the back leg. Therefore, I want to draw that first, right? So I might kind of pop this down because I know that I can just hang the other leg off of it afterwards, right? And so I'll drop that down. And in the meantime, I'm mentally checking this shoulders, waist, knees, equidistant apart. And then for the foot, I'm just going to put a triangle for now because triangles are solid and they describe base. I know there's an angle on the foot there, but I'll cut into that later. That's not really important, right? And then I'm going to locate the knee, right? So the knee is about there, right? And then you just need to draw 2 straight lines. You don't need to draw muscles and all this kind of stuff, right? All I'm doing is drawing a curve for the top of the leg and then a flat line for underneath it, right? And then this is kind of nice. The foot is curled back behind the calf. So I might just do that, right? And that's probably all I'm going to do. I'm going to locate the elbow there, drop that down, and then teardrop shape out this way. And then this has foreshortening, so I'm going to go in there and I'm going to switch to geometrics. So geometrics, I'm going to draw cylinders, right? So it's a cylinder going back, and then it is another cylinder coming forward, right? So that helps me figure out the perspective of the foreshortening. And there we go. That's that would be the equivalent of a 1 minute pose, right? Just sort of figuring it out. The other thing I would do is I would take a step back, look at the whole thing, right? And I wouldn't use a lasso tool for this. I would actually draw over it, but just for the sake of doing this quickly, right? Probably a little bit more like that, right? So those are the techniques that I'm using, everything I've taught you so far, in terms of identifying the S-curve, doing the shoulders, waist, knees equidistant apart, looking for the sort of the directional line or the construction line to show the direction the torso is facing, the direction the pelvis is facing, a little bit of geometrics to figure out that foreshortening, right? And again, I always start with what is the model doing, right? Also, on a second kind of look over for the drawing, I'll try and get that head tilt right? Because that head tilt is what adds all the expressiveness to it, right? So I might do something like that, right? And then make adjustments to it as I go, right? Now, actually, on this pass, I'll sit and go, how can we exaggerate this, right? So also with life drawing, remember, we get caught up thinking we got to draw exactly what we see. No, you don't, right? At the end of the day, you're training yourselves as artists. And I encourage you guys to doodle. You know, and again, I wanted, I might do something like this. Characters reaching for a weapon of some kind. I don't know. Just having fun with it a little bit. But move that chest forward, right? Because at the end of the day, you're an artist, so I really encourage you to play with what you see and alter it to your liking, as long as you don't go too far away from the original life drawing. Remember I said to you before, the light flicked on for me when me and my buddy said, yeah, let's just draw superheroes. Let's just draw comic book characters out of every life drawing pose. I relaxed after that, and it just became a lot easier.
Hi,
oh, yeah?
Did you see my text? It's PMQs. I need the TV.
Oh, yeah, okay. So hang on a sec. I'll be right back, guys. Oh, actually, before I go, I'm just going to set this up to play, right? Because I just wanted to take you through one. So you guys have already done this model, but we'll take it from the top again, right? So let me set this up. We're going to hit play on this, and I'll be back in a few minutes and walk you guys through it, okay? Oh, I forgot to turn on the music. Sorry, guys. Oh, that's a good point. I don't want you to start on not non-nude. Ah. Okay, let's take a look at this one. This is quite an interesting pose, right? So I'm pausing it for a second, right? So, again, where is the weight? So there's a weight shift, right? So the weight's being taken up by this leg and that arm, right? Now that's really important because as you get to more advanced design, right, you'll be able to draw that muscle flattened, right? So you understand that flesh is going to squish down because the weight is being taken up by this entire leg, right? And then this is sort of more of a support, right? It's not taking the majority of the weight, right? It's there for balance and support. And then we've got a little bit of weight being taken up here, right? And you can see the muscle flexion of the gastrocnemius muscle, right? As to help support that toe tip, right? So really kind of interesting. I think one of the big things for me is where's the focus? My God, I was moving the mouse cursor on my Streamlabs screen and not over here. So I was talking about the weight being taken up by this leg here, right? And this, at first glance, you might think the weight is being taken up by the arm, but this arm and the ball of the foot is there sort of as support and as balance, right? Got this from an artist on TikTok. Get a friend, family member to draw 4 shapes. Tell them to go nuts. Using the 4 shapes, draw 4 different characters. Ah, yeah. That's kind of cool. Okay. So, with this, for me, the focus of this particular pose would be here, right? And the reason why is because it's more of an expressive pose. Now, the rest of the limbs are just doing something functional, right? And the functional purpose of these limbs is to hold the model's weight. Why are they holding the model's weight? So she can strike this pose. And therefore, all the emotional intensity is in the face and in this arm pose, right? So if I were to do a detailed drawing, yeah, we have to take a look at nudes first, right? And it's really sort of important because of the fact that if we get into drapery study, we don't really understand what's going on with drapery, right? So we need to understand the human figure before we can understand how drapery is being pulled, right? So for example, do you know why there are 4 striations here in the shirt, right? It's because of the way it's distributing across the anatomy. Why is it flattening out down here, right? So you got to understand what the underlying anatomy is doing, and that will give you a clue as to why certain things are creasing a particular way. Actually, the biceps probably easier for me to describe. So sort of an inexperienced artist would simply draw just a crease line here. The more experienced artist knows that the crease is going over the tricep, and then there's a slight rounding of it as it goes over the bicep. Can you see that slight rounding? That slight addition of detail just brings out the experience level of the artist, right? So you're actually drawing clothing going over the anatomy. So you need to understand anatomy first, right? So I'm just going to back this up a step. I'm going to go back to the New Masters Academy. These ones are good ones, actually. I don't know if they update these anymore, because I could swear I've done this particular session as well. Okay, so here's the difference between a clothed model and a nude model, right? Is that you can see exactly what the muscles are doing. And the spinal column is the best clue for what the line is doing through the character, whether it's an S curve or a C curve or what have you. So this is a wonderful pose in that it's a simple C curve starting at the top of the head, tracing through the spine, and then going to, again, where is the weight? It's on the back leg, right? And coming down the back leg to make a complete C curve through here, right? Now, identifying the central curve in a pose has always been, or was difficult for me when I first started getting into figure drawing and character design, right? Because you could say, well, what's the dominant curve? Is it the C curve through here, or is it the C curve through here? It could very well be the C curve through the arms. So do you know what dictates where the strongest curve is in a pose? Like, why would I decide that the strongest pose is through here than through the arms? Is it the weight? One question back. Remember I said there are two questions. Where is the weight? But what's the one you asked before that? What is the model doing? Yes, what's the model doing? That's going to give you a clue as to the dominant curve, right? So for example, in here, I would say it's an S curve through here, right? Because that's what the model's doing, right? And the limbs are just for balance or support. Do you get what I'm saying, right? So this is arguable. You could say this is what the model is doing, but I would argue, no, the model's shifting backwards and putting the weight onto her back. So what I envision is the model's moving backwards, and this is just sort of an accent, right? The arms are just coming up to accent that motion, right? So for me, I would say that this is the dominant movement, moving backward through the pose, and the arms are just a flourish, right? Do you get what I mean? So it's more of an emotional judgment call, not really a technical one. But when all is said and done, when I first started, I was just looking for where the weight was going, right? So where is the weight is probably a good place to start. It takes a while to figure out what emotion you want to emphasize in a pose. And again, that's absolutely applicable to Julia's creature work, right? So again, I'd be come in here and take a look at this again, right? I think that might be the difficulty. What I'm having difficulty with this particular piece is where's the dominant curve? Like, you just want to say it's this, right? Right through the body. But I think it's through here, through the face and the forelegs, because that's what the the character's going, right? And then moving forward, the back legs are just kind of for support. So I'd look for dominant lines and curves through here, right? But it really depends, right? Some artists would draw a triangle. That's a whole other thing. You move from dominant lines and arcs to where are the triangles, right? So there'd be a triangle starting at the face, going through the forepaw to somewhere out here, right? And then I draw a triangle through that pose, right? But anyway, that's for another lesson. It's for education though, isn't it? I think. Oh yeah, no. YouTube is not sensitive in terms of nudity for life drawing, right? So, and that's the other thing. I've mentioned this to every year. I didn't want to bring it up with you guys because you guys seem relatively cool, but I should mention it, right? So you guys are on a path, a journey to be a production artist, to be somebody kind of capable of this, right? This kind of thing, right? So you want to be an artist that's capable of doing anything that ends up on a splash page, right? You want to be able to do stuff like this, right? So in that regard, I want you to take life drawing seriously, right? And in terms of nudity and stuff like that, I have very little tolerance for, like, just snide remarks, insults, and that kind of a thing. Because come on, guys, we're taking a look at nudity because we're trying to be able to create characters like this, right? So I want you guys to take a look at it through a serious lens and understand that what we're doing is we're learning anatomy. We're studying shape, form, emotion because we want to capture it, right? And that's what YouTube knows, and that's why YouTube allows these free life drawing sessions. It's not about any kind of sexualization at all, right? So I don't want it to go there, right? So yeah, that's it. That's the little speech I have to give you guys. Okay, so I also, part of me starts to gravitate towards this idea of why is nudity like this questionable to show on television or on YouTube, and somebody blowing another person's brains out is not. So that's kind of so for me, that's always been like, why is nudity something that we have to severely censor, but a machete slicing open a guy's neck, that's no problem. Yeah, we can put that on the screen. I think it's just a bit strange. It's actually, the UK is pretty comfortable with the idea of nudity. It's in America where it's far more puritanical. Yeah, animals are naked as well. Okay, so yeah, I think that's partially a cultural thing. The fact that nudity is sexualized immediately, it really shouldn't be. So hopefully I can drag you guys back to that so we can look at it from the point of view of artists, because we want to create fantastic characters, right? So to get there, we need to understand shape, form, anatomy, weight, etc. Shape language, right? You will, I know it sounds cheesy and a bit arty-farty, but when you do a load of life drawing like I've done, you actually start to find beauty in the naked human body again, right? You do. You're just like, because you marvel at how wonderful an engineer nature is. And it's just like, holy cow, those muscles work like that, and it all and it works, and it goes against gravity. And you just start to become really, really amazed at how the human body works. Oh yeah, that's censorship. Yeah, that's a whole other kind of issue. But yeah, it is. I agree with you. I don't think nudity should be censored in the same way that automatic weapons are not. So anyway, that's a huge topic. We're not going to solve it. Nobody's been able to solve it, right? So, yeah. So let's matriarchy. Oh no. Okay, let's stop. Let's get back to this. Okay, so you guys fire up Photoshop. Get your sketch pads out, because now I'm just going to play, right? I'm just going to play, and I'm just going to let you guys draw. Okay, so get ready. It's a 1 minute warning. I'm going to hit the play button. I'm going to rewind this back to the beginning. And we'll start again. I know you've already drawn those poses, but I'll let you kind of tackle it again. Now, all life drawing sessions start off with 30-second poses, 1 minute poses. Right? The reason for that, I'll talk for a little bit. That should give you enough time to find your sketch pad. So we start with a 1 minute pose for a reason. Because the only thing that you draw from the model is the head, the torso, pelvis, and the dominant curve. Right? So for example, don't get lost in the detail of the model that you're drawing. Remember, you're drawing this. Oh, even less than that, actually. Even less than that, right? So when you have a 1 minute, 30-second pose, all I want you to do is this, right? That's it, literally, right? Nothing more complicated than that. It's hugely important that you stay focused just on that, right? Because it's teaching you all kinds of stuff, right? Actually, let's say the arms like this. It's teaching you where to find that dominant curve. It's teaching you to draw head, torso, pelvis, shoulders, waist, knees, right? And finding, even to a certain degree, the triangle for the pose, etc., right? So you're learning a whole load of observational skills inside of a 1 minute, 30-second, 1 minute life drawing. So keep it just at the head, torso, and pelvis. Not entirely stick men, but not too far off from it, right? Yes, you're going to be awful at it. We're all awful at it in the beginning, right? You are here to learn how to draw humans, and I'm going to teach you, right? So don't give up. Don't say, I can't draw humans. Just say, I haven't been trained to draw them yet, right? Because that's the truth. You just haven't been trained. Okay, hit and play. Now I'll probably talk you through these to sort of give you a hand in the beginning. 1 minute, right? So again, we take a look at this, right? Where's that dominant curve? So this pose, the fascinating thing about this pose for me is the triangle, right? Because that's where the performance is, right? So if I were to find focus, it would be this. That's really important. But she's being supported by the C curve, right? See that? Now, where is the weight? Well, the weight is almost predominantly on this side, right? And the feet are just there for support. They're just tucked underneath, right? My advice for the head is to draw a cylinder, right? Because then you can get the tilt of the head correct, right? So the top of the cylinder is here. The bottom curve of the cylinder would be described a bit by the chin. I know it's hard to look at a human head like a cylinder, right? Because we're so used to drawing spheres. Well, these are maybe too quick for me to do commentary. Oh, sorry guys. Yes, it is super fast. I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. Actually, I'm going to stop it here because I want to talk through this pose. I know it's pretty quick. You guys are probably just starting to get warmed up. I mean, we didn't have enough time to do a proper life drawing session anyway, because most of this was taken up by lecture. So yeah, 90% of you probably found it was like really, 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 really fast, right? So hence my warning to you guys earlier about making sure you keep it to this, right? You guys kind of understand why now. So it's pulling you back from what you traditionally believe life drawing is, or what you see in the movies and on TV, and actually building you back up from the ground up, teaching you life drawing properly, right? Now, I always feel underqualified as a life drawing teacher because I've worked with quite a few colleagues who are phenomenal at drawing from life, but I'm not bad. I'm all right. I'll do it in a pinch, right? Okay, so let's take a look at breaking this particular pose down, right? Yeah, they're all squiggles. That's okay. They're supposed to be squiggles, right? I think to a certain degree, what this does is it trains you to draw with instinct, right? So you really, really get good at spotting what is the most important thing about the pose. Now, I wanted to tackle this one because it's deceptively simple. But any pose where the model's lying down, curled up, covering the majority of the anatomy, incredibly difficult to do. Did you guys find this pose particularly hard? I would, to be completely honest with you. Yeah, okay, so the back leg was hard. Yeah, so again, the reason why I'm picking on this is to sort of, again, break you guys away from maybe the traditional way you draw, where you're drawing what you see. So again, the back leg was hard because you can't see it, right? But you know how the human leg is constructed, right? You know how it works. You know that there's a hip joint, a knee, etc. So what you need to do is you need to draw through the character, right? So in this case, I'm drawing a cylinder to represent the top of the shoulders. And I'm going to break this up into 3 pieces. Otherwise, I'm never going to be able to draw it, right? So I'm going to draw the top half. And again, I always skip the abdominal because it's always easy to connect the abdominal. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's good. You're on the right track. Actually, this the top one, the one where the model is like down like this, that's really kind of well done, right? The lying down one is pretty well executed. So Aaliyah, I want to get you away from silhouette-based drawing. So this is the one thing I wanted to stop on this and talk about. So silhouette drawing is, again, this idea of drawing what you see, right? And you're just drawing around the silhouette of the character, right? Don't worry about that. I want to get you guys to see through the character. So here, I'm going to skip the midsection, and I'm going to draw the pelvis. But I noticed that the pelvis is actually, there's a twist in the upper torso, but the pelvis is kind of more sitting like this, right? And there's a bit of a bend to it, right? So I'm drawing a couple of geometric shapes for the pelvis and the torso. And I'm just trying to figure out how those geometric shapes sort of fit together, right? And I'll ignore the stomach region for now, because what the benefit of that is that it keeps you focused on trying to figure out that pelvis-torso relationship, right? And I might block in what the head's doing here. And then I'm going to draw in my shoulder balls, right? But this one, it's just about finding where those shoulders are placed. The foreshortening, again, I'm turning the knee into a cylinder, right? And I'm figuring out which way is that cylinder pointed. Pointed that way, right? And then another cylinder for the way the ankle is pointed, right? Now, the leg underneath, you need to draw through the object to figure out where that cylinder is coming through, right? And then the leg is tucked underneath there, right? Even though the majority of it is being covered, you need to understand exactly what those knees are doing. So see what I'm doing here? Drawing through and trying to figure out what those knees are doing, and I've slightly kind of angled them out, right? So then it makes it easy to go in and slightly darken the lines and figure out where that arm is going to be placed in relationship to the knee, right? And look, I'm off but it doesn't have to be perfect. You're just trying to figure it out at the moment. And then this arm is going here and sort of by the head a little bit, right? And then the rest is easy, right? The rest is just a trail off, right? So the whole point of what I'm trying to get you to do is to, again, draw through the character, right? You really need to figure out how that character is constructed, right? And so, is it Alia or, Alia. So the sketches that you've put up there, the first execution of this was better, actually. Up here. Oh, sorry. I'm looking at something else. So let's take a look at this one here. So this execution, not bad, but you're drawing volume, right? You're drawing the silhouette, right? And same with this one, not bad. I feel the tension through that pose. That's working. I might have shifted the foot up a little bit because if you drop that plumb line, yeah, it's not bad actually. And this one's nicely achieved. Oh, actually, I'm not showing this on the correct monitor. Okay, so here, this is what I'm talking about with silhouette drawing, right? You're just drawing the outside shapes, and this is not bad, right? A good sense of proportion and things like that, right? But I would rather see you cut into that character a little bit more and draw the construction lines. Even if it's an easy pose and you know what the construction of that character is doing, I just want you to get in the habit of drawing those construction lines and drawing through the character. Mostly to get you guys out of silhouette drawing, right? These are nicely done. That's good enough. You know what? That's the other thing that I learned from life drawing is that if you can only figure out part of the model, that's okay. You're learning to figure out part of the model, right? So if you can't complete a particular pose, don't sweat it. Draw what you know, right? Draw what you can. Because from this one, even though it's just the torso, I can already see that you're learning how to compensate the head tilt for the way the torso's going. This is a nice hourglass shape, slightly smaller up the top, slightly larger down where the pelvis is, which makes anatomical sense, right? So you're learning, right? Same here. Like I'd rather see this. That one works really good for me. So we got the nice shoulder tilt, head placement's correct, and I see a nice strong S curve through it. That's not bad actually. It's nicely achieved. So the silhouette drawing results in a couple of bad habits. Like look at this arm here. Looks like a bent rubber hose. I really, really want to get you guys away from that. That's one of the more common things that I see quite often. And how do you fix that? Well, you don't draw the silhouette of the arm. You draw the shoulder ball, a little sort of circle for where the elbow is, draw a straight line from one to the other, and then that's it, right? Because at this stage, it's not about drawing the volume of the muscles. It's about identifying the pose. That's really more important, right? So this is nicely achieved. Some nice construction lines through here. Again, silhouette drawing, right? And I'll explain silhouette drawing in a sec. These are nice. I like that. This has great energy through the pose. So it's a nice curve. It looks like it's pushed or exaggerated slightly, which really, really works for me. So I think this is the stronger pose. And then this one. Yeah, very, very difficult, right? So hopefully what I showed you when I kind of walked it through using geometrics will help you to tackle another pose like this in the future, right? Mind you, even though I did do geometrics, it was still a very, very difficult pose to negotiate. Definitely. I'm not saying this makes it easier. It's still a hard pose to draw, right? Let's take a look at this. Yeah, look at that. That's nice. Really like that. You've got the tuck for the foot. That's working really well. Wow, some good stuff, guys. Some really good stuff. Yeah, that was a difficult pose, right? Very difficult pose. So that's okay. You can abandon a pose and move on to the next one. This one's nicely achieved. Again, great energy through the S curve, right? I ran out of time with the unfinished one. Yes, yeah, it's very quick. You guys are drawing too much. That's about the only advice I can give you guys, right? So let me talk a little bit about, do you guys understand why maybe a lot of us do silhouette drawing for a long, long, long time? Or why we do that as a kid and etc.? Yeah, yeah. Life drawing does it for me as well. Cures any kind of art block, right? But children do silhouette-based drawing. We do silhouette-based drawing when we start. Do you guys know why? Yo, one sec. I'm gonna flip over to another channel real quick. Da-da-da. I'll be back. To year 3. Am I there? Just running a tad over with my visual studies guys. Got another class here in a minute. All right. Okie doke. Okay, so here's the thing. In our class, we're always taught to draw what we see. Yeah, and what we see is generally a silhouette, right? And that's how we problem solve. So here's why we do that, right? Because of the way our eyes are wired to our brain and what we see, right? We are designed biologically to see silhouette and black and white first before we interpret color, right? So we're trained to discern light values before color values, and again, silhouette shapes before detail, right? And we're hardwired that way for survival, right? So when we see, sort of this shape of an angry creature emerging from the bushes, we know it's a threat before we even recognize what that creature is, and we take off, right? We're hardwired to identify silhouette and light and shadow under times of stress, right? It is so hardwired into our biology that when we take a look at what's called chroma subsampling, which is how a video CCD sensor chip interprets light and color, there's always less data in the color channel, but all the data in the light, or what's called the luma channel, right? So the light and dark value has all the data. But if they have to make the chips cheaper, they'll compress the color channels because color is not important, right? We respond to light, absolutely. So all the detail and the resolution is in the luma channel, right? Because of the way we respond to light. So therefore, when we're drawing, and drawing is a form of creative stress, right? We respond with survival instincts. So we tend to draw silhouette first, right? Now I'm trying to break that, which is incredibly difficult. I saw a small video about shape silhouettes and character design, and they showed how we can interpret something as teeth, even though it's just some random shapes. Yes, absolutely, right? Our mind is designed to fill in the blanks in terms of detail, right? But it's going to be the hardest thing for me to break for you guys, to get you out of silhouette drawing and get you thinking through the object, right? You got to think in terms of how that object is constructed. Just like I showed you there, by breaking that shape down into geometrics and rebuilding it, right? It's not a natural process. It takes a bit of time, right? But again, that's what you're doing here in visual studies. I'm giving you the problem-solving techniques to improve your drawing skill. Not teaching you how to draw. I'm teaching you the skills so that you can teach yourselves how to draw, if that makes sense, right? Obviously, I'll pass on some of my tips and tricks, but man, there are so many concept artists out there with so many different styles. In terms of where you want to refine your skills, there's a plethora of information out there. Hopefully, a lot of it coming from me, but there's a plethora of information out there. But the basic tool sets, that's what I'm giving you so that you can improve your own skills, right? Oh, yeah, okay, cool, right? Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, nicely achieved. I'm looking at the cat painting. Really well done, right? That's cool. Okay, so we're going to leave it at that for today because I've got another session with another group and I've gone over with you guys. But I think I wanted to do more life drawing today, but I did touch on everything I wanted to. So that's cool. Oh, yeah, the last sort of thing to talk about is assignments. So we'll go over that now, right? Okay, so when it comes to assignments, right, there's only ever one location where your assignments are, and they're on my University OneDrive. And this is important because everywhere where I place this link, it's all feeding to one single copy, right? So you'll always have kind of the updated copy. So inside Discord here, I've made a new sort of channel. I used to post this at the top of your subject discipline, but I find that it gets lost. So I created a new area here. I'm going to have to change the permissions too. So it's just, so you guys can't contribute to it. It's just assignment postings. So this is the Visual Studies Level 4 brief, right? And that will connect to that one. And so when you click on it, it should pop open a Explorer window for you. Just testing it out here live. And there we go, right? So there's your assignment brief. This link will also be posted up in FTrack and on Moodle, right? So let's zoom out to 75 here. So I'll walk through this really briefly. Oh, actually, before I do that, I'll just kill the stream because we're done today. So for the stream, that's it. I'll keep you guys in the loop. Talk to you guys later.